welcome to Interfaith Connections. I am your host, Jackie Fuller. In today's episode, we are happy to share with you an exciting experience that we have gathered around almost maybe a little over 2 years ago at the Parliament of World Religions that took place in Salt Lake City, Utah. I had the opportunity to go there as media to cover the event, and I made some friends and reconnected with friends along the way. And I have them here in the studio as well as Skype to share their experiences with you. In the studio, for those of you who know Reverend Channahsorah, she is an interfaith minister, totally all about interfaith as much as I am. And we have on Skype Tahil Sharma, who is an interfaith activist who has been very engaged with the interfaith movement globally. And I'm very happy to have both of them on the program. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Since people know Reverend Channahsorah, who watches this program often, I would like for you, Tahil, to introduce yourself to our audience so they can get some background information about yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Tahil Sharma. I am an interfaith activist here in Southern California, born and raised in Culver City. I come from an interfaith background myself. My mother's side of the family is Sikh, and my father's side of the family is Hindu. Being raised in that kind of interfaith context makes me literally born to be ready to be in the interfaith movement. And currently I work in a few different positions here in Southern California. I serve as one of the UN youth representatives for the Parliament of the World's Religions. I'm a religious director at the University of Southern California, and I'm also an interfaith liaison for Sadhana, a coalition of progressive Hindus.
Nice. Wow. Reverend Channahsorah?
Yes, and
sure.
I too was born interfaith, one parent from a Judaism background and the other from sort of Christianity, and grew up in an environment where there was no we, they, and all kinds of faiths and traditions and cultures and races and ages wafting through the house. This is the world I live and grew up in. Just such a great gift.
Nice.
And was interfaith really since pre-birth, I would say, and in previous lives probably. And a core faith, Tahil, is Hinduism also for me. Although really I am an embodiment, as is Jackie and other people of interfaith. And then formally a few years ago became an actual interfaith minister, as you know, and just kind of serve in a number of arenas, and that shifts and morphs over time as the wind blows.
Absolutely.
Yeah, is the short story.
Okay, well, thank you both. Now, pretty much I'll just briefly state that the first parliament started back in 1893. So that was back way back in the day, that took place in Chicago. And then what's interesting that 100 years later, there was that momentum to get it going again, to start having the events where different activists and the like would come together to meet. So I know you have maybe some more to explain on that if you like.
In 1893, and Swami Vivekananda was invited from India. I'm getting chills. And there's a whole little book of all of his talks at the Parliament of Religions, and and this isn't it, but this is him, this is Swami Vivekananda, and he began one of the plenary talks of the opening of the Parliament of Religions with "Sisters and Brothers of America." It fills my heart with joy unspeakable to be here with you all, and so forth. And it was several minutes with a standing ovation, roaring, thunderous applause at that opening with the full heart of Swami Vivekananda. So, of the Ramakrishna order. So it had just such a thunderous launching of a huge crowd, which may not have been as much as 10,000 like it was for us last year, 10,000 plus near the end. That's the iconic moment for many of us, that opening.
Yeah. Which is very interesting now, seeing how in modern times, how the interfaith movement has these varies in whether it's from music to activism. It's just a very powerful thing to experience. So when everyone comes together at an event like the Parliament, it gives it's really just a unique energy, I think, in itself.
Truly.
So if for either of you who can remember the first day, like even from landing in Salt Lake City, getting off the plane like I did, just being in that presence in Salt Lake City, share with us, I guess we'll start with you, Tahil, share how did you feel coming in and realizing what you're going to be doing for those 5 days?
Yeah, flying into Salt Lake City, I literally just dropped myself, gave myself about half an hour, and then literally went to register for the Parliament. So the very first few minutes were much of a blur because a lot of stuff was going on.
Yeah.
But I do certainly remember that energy that I had, that I finally got the opportunity to go to my first Parliament, which for me always seemed like a big deal being involved with the Parliament for the past couple of years, but also in just realizing that I was going to be a part of the largest gathering of the most diverse religious spectrum that I have probably ever seen in my life. And I can just remember walking in and literally embodying that in my first sight of just seeing all the people register, lining up for Langar and walking around through hallways of different exhibits and organizations that were present. And it was so humbling for me to be able to be a part of that. But after seeing so much tumultuousness in the world, it was also really emboldening for me to really feel like I'm not the only person doing this. There are literally thousands of doctors who are trying to make these strides and ripple effects in their own community.
And about you, Reverend?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and flying in over the Salt Lake. And I did bring back a lot of salt from the Salt Lake.
Oh, wow.
You can get it, yes. Next time I'll bring it for show and tell. I didn't think of that. I still have some. And we hit the ground running. We started way before the Parliament because I was in the first ever international interfaith parliamentary choir, and I forget how, representing probably 30-some faiths. We clocked it, we gauged it, and I forget how many of us there were. We're going to do it again in Canada. Okay. And so we started with, this was our songbook, learning 10 cantata, or cantatas, whatever the plural is, and sending video of that in. And the first morning was rehearsal. Okay. I got the time difference wrong, so that's another story.
Yeah, it happens.
It's like had a clock challenge. Yeah. And so we had every day rehearsals and sometimes two, because it's a lot to learn together, even though we had been going through it on our own at our homes until we arrived. And like you said, just glorious gathering of literally 10,000 of our closest brothers and sisters. Even though it's vast, it's intimate.
Right.
Yes, they're very much a partnership, and we had other things going there. As the Wisdom Circle, we had a huge setup with that beautiful big scroll, which the whole thing is videoed. So I had several roles there to prepare for. I never even made it to the lunch the Sikhs provided in any day. So just the idea of being present there, participating, and the oneness of it. It's a microcosm of the planet, the universe, the earth, of all people. Yeah. And the diversity, which is our strength. It brings us together and complements one another. And this shows it. Highly diverse group of people. And it's not all about quote unquote religion. It's the World Parliament of Religions. It's peoples with flesh and blood pumping through our veins. Exactly. We are all one.
You remind me,
over-answer.
and you remind me at the plenary. That's where if I recall, the natives who were invited there, they were pretty much like they started it. They were like it was just amazing, just like seeing them coming in and the drumming and their energy and just seeing everybody so excited and being engaged with it all, and listening to the folks speak that day. And it was just, it was a beautiful thing, even being from the media perspective, because it's very rare when you have the opportunity to see that kind of collaboration and people who want to learn and who want to be more engaged in knowing what they can do to make the world a better place, and how they can interact with their brothers and sisters from a variety of belief systems. It was just a powerful way of just experiencing that and seeing all that at the opening session. So it was just really like an eye opener for me for that.
Oh, beautiful, the Ute tribe. They were like our hosts.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
we were in the land of the nation, the Ute Nation.
Yeah.
So that was extraordinarily powerful.
Very powerful.
Indeed.
And powerful. So I have the program book here, Tahil. I don't know if you still have your copy, and we remember how extremely thick this is with like all the different, workshops, sessions, however you want to call it, going on. Did any workshop in particular stood out for you that you enjoyed? And this is for both of you, but we'll ask you first since you're calling in, Tahil. Any of those sessions that stood out for you, or were you more like, I wish I could go to this session, or did you think a particular session could have been much better?
Honestly, in getting to experience a variety of different sessions, whether it be through the plenaries or whether it be through actually attending some of the workshops, there were just so many options that my mind was by the end of the first 2 days, I was so upset that I couldn't attend half of them, and I was really happy that I attended the other half. Okay. So I could never really be satisfied with the experience. But I think just as a personal plug-in, I actually did get to be a part of a workshop as well.
Okay.
That focused on the use of new media to really transform dialogue and engagement. And that really did an analysis of how mainstream media and social media are really impacting the way that we communicate with each other.
Yeah.
There are certain platforms in which we can really develop the idea of the interfaith movement as moving it partly online, so that it really helps to promote that understanding in a really productive and strategized way.
It's interesting you mentioned that, especially talking with the sessions. I got invited at the last minute. I pretty much I call it the equivalent of a bat signal. I was invited at the last minute to participate in the 9/11 Unity Walks workshop session that took place on my birthday on the 17th. And of course, I did not even have the attire to wear. I feel like you should, I'm doing a presentation, I probably should have a suit or something, but because I didn't know about it, I just pretty much had my jeans and I call my chill attire for the weekend. But I had the opportunity to talk about media outreach for the 9/11 Unity Walk that takes place here in every September in DC, and that's done with the Interfaith Conference in Metropolitan Washington. One of the individuals wasn't able to make it to participate in that particular panel, so I was able to step in and share some tips that people can do, if they want to do their own UD walks in their own cities, and I was saying how they can reach out to young people through schools and the like, to use this as an opportunity to learn about, different cultures. I know people tend to get caught up in the separation of church and state thing, particularly with public schools, but it's like at the same time, this is an opportunity to learn about diverse cultures. So I was very interested in doing that particular session, but I do agree with you, it was just so much, so much that I wanted to learn during that time period, and it's like you're trying to like hopscotch through each session just to even get like 5-10 minutes in to hear what's going on. But I think it was a very good opportunity, because you're in that, each day had like a full schedule of things to do and to learn about. So, and then like the impromptu session with me being in there, but that was a good way for me to also contribute. But it was very fascinating, just seeing like everything that's available. And you were able, Channahsorah to check some of those out, or were you busy?
Yes, and participated in one that I actually don't remember as well. And many of the workshops, which there were many that were simultaneously, and we all wanted to clone ourselves to be able to go to more than one at the same time, truly. Where we also broke into small groups in the room and shared our stories in terms of deepening and furthering listening with the heart, as it is said.
Okay.
Kind of practices more closely and deeply and broadly with one another. And that's where things happen in small groups, one-on-one, things like that. So even though there's 10,000 of us, that's why I note that it is close, it is intimate. It's not this amorphous, huge crowd kind of things. And even in the plenary session where we're all there at once, we all fit into that room.
Okay.
It had a closeness and intimacy and making new compatriots and fellow beings and things as well. So, yeah.
Now, I did miss the opportunity during the event to check out some of the, I call it the entertainment, particularly at one of the Mormon temples with the performances. Did either of you go?
Oh, yes.
Did you go, sir?
No.
You did? Okay. I don't feel alone in that.
Glorious it was.
Okay.
And yes, see, this is the Mormon Tabernacle Choir.
And we'll have some photos to show too.
That I sent, yes. I'm a show and tell kind of girl.
Okay.
Did you guess? The ceiling of where the public is allowed. Of course, one doesn't go into the inner sanctum sanctorum of the Mormon temple.
Okay.
The one where we all went to. Now, it was a service, and each culture, including the whirling dervishes, which were in the closing ceremonies. You saw that. It is beyond description. I've heard about them all my life. Till you see that and are part of that in person, I really didn't, capital K, know what that was really about.
Yeah.
Just extraordinarily, deeply beautiful. And including the tribe who played the drums. It was a beautiful cultural sharing. Thailand and each nation and group. So it seemed like a couple of hours, and a Mormon family. There were pictures. I didn't send you any of those, I think, but invited me, adopted me, and so I got a really good chair because they had camped out these chairs, and I can't remember how it happened, but I became part of their family, even in their family photos and things there before it started. Okay. The ceiling is curved and it changes design and color, and you can take photos. So I took some pictures of that as well. The whole environment is sanctified and beautiful. It truly was extraordinary. I stayed behind in Salt Lake another almost week.
Oh, wow.
And I went back to the that same temple, Mormon Tabernacle. Choir has open practices. I sang with them in the alto section, but I sang the soprano part.
Okay.
So I remained back and just really immersed in Salt Lake City and Temple Square and such.
Okay.
So I went back again a few times and such. Just glorious, and again it reinforced that we are all one, and the mutual reverence for one another, at large and specifically.
Okay, nice. Anything else that stands out for you, Tahil, from the Parliament?
There are a couple things actually. One of the first things that really popped up for me, which was more of interfaith awesome, was this immersive religious space section that we were able to go visit, where you can actually go interact with people from every tradition, see what an altar, what a prayer space looks like, and get to actually learn about the cultural and social aspects that can establish some sort of common ground between the people who are visiting and the places that they go into. It was really amazing getting to see the variety, of course, that exists in so many traditions, but really seeing how much can be in common by practice and by way of that same idea that the Reverend just mentioned about mutual reverence. Just that ability to be able to pray together, eat together, speak to one another, and really just develop those stronger bridges accordingly. Another part of the parliament that was my favorite had to be the langar, because that is literally my spirit, if you will, for the way that the Sikh community just brought itself out in every capacity possible, to be able to feed everyone continuously for 5 days, to be able to show that humility and that resilience that comes with building those bonds between individuals who are eating, strengthening and nourishing them in such a literal and spiritual way, and also having the presence of the makeshift golden temple that was surrounded by water, and having actual jathedars, or the trios of singers of hymns from the Guru Granth Sahib who are present, and really creating that sanctity and that beauty that comes with the faith tradition, and exposing it to everyone in such a marvelous way.
Okay. Thank you for watching Interfaith Connections. As we close the program, we want to share with you a couple of videos regarding the Parliament for you to just take notice. The first one is from a former guest on our program, Susan Katz-Miller, who is an author and who will share her testimony about her experience at the Parliament. And we also have the promo video for the 2018 Parliament of World Religions that will take place in Toronto, Canada. So we hope you enjoy these clips, and take care. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Susan Katz-Miller. I'm the author of this book, Being Both, Embracing Two Religions in One Interfaith Family. And that's why I went to the last Parliament. I wanted to go in part because I wanted to make sure that people from interfaith families and people who are multiple religious practitioners had a voice at the Parliament. And I wanted to go through the Parliament and meet people who might come from interfaith families or be multiple religious practitioners, but who didn't necessarily feel they had space to tell those stories. So I got a speaking session there so that I could talk about that and encourage others to tell their stories. But really, I think what was most valuable to me about the Parliament was not the official sessions. Because the official sessions, first of all, there were hundreds of them. You couldn't go to them all. There were many at the same time. It was overwhelming. And often they were put together a little bit randomly. I mean, my talk was partnered with a guy who had absolutely nothing to do with my topic, so that was kind of awkward and didn't help to attract people. But what was most valuable to me really were two different things. One was the networking. The Parliament was an incredible experience of top religious leaders, top religious authors and thinkers, and young interfaith peacemaking activists all gathering in one place. So just walking through the halls, I was able to meet a lot of people that I had relationships with on social media through interfaith peacemaking work, but that I had never met in real life. And they were all there, and we were able to, run into each other, or to sit down in the exhibit hall and have a cup of coffee together and finally, get to know each other face to face. And that was amazing. Actually, completely without even knowing he was there, I ran into the minister who co-officiated with a rabbi at my own wedding. So it was that kind of thing. And the other thing that was most valuable to me were the music, performance, and sort of extra session events that were more interactive. So a session that I went to with Indigenous women elders speaking about the importance of saving the planet, or going to hear Emma's Revolution, a singing duo that often performs in Unitarian Universalist contexts, but was there performing with a singer who's a witch. Or watching the Buddhist monks doing the sand painting in the entryway, or going to the Sikh langar, the free meal each day, sometimes with friends and sometimes sitting down with random people and getting to know them and hearing their stories. All of those were amazing. And I think for me, the most moving perhaps was arriving early in the morning at the convention hall and outside, having the Native Americans who had come from indigenous groups from throughout the U.S. and were there chanting and singing and blessing the Parliament. And that sense of place that we got of being grounded in Salt Lake City, a place I really didn't know, was very valuable for me. So I hope that I get to go to another Parliament in the future and have these kinds of experiences again.
Esteemed spiritual leaders, peacemakers and role models, teachers and learners, trendsetters and networkers, laypersons and clergy, interfaith stalwarts and grassroots organizers, trustee colleagues, associates, friends and pilgrims on the way to a better world. Aren't we glad for the thrilling, inspiring, challenging, and rewarding week we've had together?
And so on behalf of the members of Toronto City Council, I wish the Parliament of World Religions and the Toronto faith communities continued success.